From the Hotel Indigo on Technology Drive along the Monongahela River just off campus at the great University of Pittsburgh, right near the Hot Metal Bridge. Welcome to the award-winning Pat Narduzzi Show. I'm Larry Richert with Panthers Chris Pickle, 97 head coach Pat Narduzzi. Coach, getting ready for ACC play. That's big, but after the first three games, West Virginia able to even the series on the road in Morgantown. And when you look at the tape, let's right off the top.
You want the good or the bad?
Well, there's always both.
Yes.
And let's start with the good. Your defense is ranked 5th in the nation, only allowed 211 yards, yet you came up short.
Yeah, no doubt. Our defense is playing at a high level right now. I'm excited about how they're playing. They got an attitude, and like we've done, a lot, played good defense. And again, we didn't get really tested with the pass game, although we had some RPOs. I wish we had played a little bit better. But overall, they're a good running team. They got a really good offensive line, and 211 yards. That's 100 yards less than they had against Penn State in the opener, and I guess 400 yards less than Duquesne. So our kids played well on defense, and it's a shame that they had two short fields. I mean, they gained 13 yards and scored 10 points from 13 yards on turnovers, and we just can't do that to ourselves. You're going to hurt yourself. So, defense is playing at a high level. Excited about them. And special teams. I mean, you look at where we were a year ago. I don't know where, you look at the stats at number 5 in the country defense. I don't know anything about that. I don't look at that. But when you look at like where our special teams are, and I don't know where they're ranked, but like our net punt has been on target every game this week or this year. So our punt game, which was a major weakness a year ago, we have shored it up. We've gotten better. We spend a lot of time on that this offseason. So it's good to see the improvement. So those two out of 3 phases right now I'm really happy with. And then, you talk about the offense and you're not happy with it. We got some new faces. We've juggled things around on the offensive line at times, and we just have not gotten a rhythm. And I know everybody'd like to say it's all one guy, but it is 11 guys. And when you look at it, just as in a coach's seat, you look at it. Obviously we made some bad decisions at the quarterback spot, which we'll clean up. But you know what? You get into those games as a quarterback, and your brother-in-law can tell you want to go make a play, and you can't fault guy. I mean, they're trying to stick it in there, and it's just you're better off. Like I said, we're better off punting it on second down as opposed to trying to make a play. And you just if the coverage dictates that it's not there, just throw it away. And we've got to be smarter than that. And then there's issues all over the place. We break it down offensively just like we do on defense and special teams. It's either structural, it's mental, or it's physical. And is it physically? There's times mentally and physically we're not getting things done. And I think structurally, even on the one sprint out pass that we did throw a pick, structurally it's a bad call. Basis on the defense they were lined up in. And I'll draw that up for you at our intermission to show you what they just had a good defense for what we had called, and then you just throw it away and you live to play the next down. But the physical and the structure, or the physical and the mental part of it really bothers me. That we're not getting our blocks on the edge. There's some runs that could go out the gate, including one where Phil goes on on a run early in the game, and he should gain 20, 30 yards, and we don't block a DB when we got a guy. It's 1-for-1. Who's going to make the play? We got to make the play. So it's all over the field. We got to clean that up. And again, I think we've done a lot of good things this week to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Phil Jurkovec is 6th-year senior, 6'5". He has all the tools physiologically. And how is it, when you don't get the result, you hear from, all corners. How is Phil handling the adversity? Because they get a lot of the credit when you win, and when it doesn't happen, they get a lot of the blame.
I think he handles it well. When you look at him, we see him every morning. 7:30. I'm staring right in his face, and we spend a lot of time at practice together, and he's taking it well. I mean, it's hard. I mean, playing quarterback is the toughest position on the field, and everybody's looking at you, and those mistakes show up just like a DB's mistakes show up in the back end. But you got 4 of them, not just one. I mean, there's only one quarterback, so. He's taking it like a champion. I mean, I think he's tough mentally, he's tough physically, and we just got to see him play better and make better decisions, and everybody around him has got to operate together, and that's what we have not done yet.
And that said, you got to turn the page because you've got a very talented North Carolina team coming to Acrisure Stadium, 8 o'clock kickoff Saturday night. ACC play, they're ranked 17th, but everybody's focused on their quarterback, a sophomore, Drake May, who you believe is probably going to be another number 1 pick in the NFL.
No doubt about it. I mean, it's going to be him or Caleb Williams, whoever someone thinks they fit better, with that first pick. And, he's spectacular. I mean, he had an unbelievable season a year ago. They're a little different offensively. They do some great things offensively, and Chip Lindsey's the offense coordinator. So we got our work cut out for us on defense because he sliced us up a year ago, and we got a little payback here in Acrisure Stadium this Saturday night.
And we'll talk about what you need to know about North Carolina when we come back. You're listening to the Pat Narduzzi Show, presented by Dollar Energy Fund on the Pitt Panthers Radio Network. Welcome back to Hotel Indigo. And by the way, you're invited to join us for Coach Narduzzi's show every Wednesday, 6 o'clock, except we have that one Thursday game. So the show will be on a Monday, but that's down the road. We're focused on North Carolina coming to Acrisure Stadium this weekend, 8 o'clock. It's Hall of Fame weekend. And later I want to give a shout out to some of the football players that are coming in that will be inducted into the Athletic Hall of Fame. Some really great guys, including Larry Fitzgerald, Matt Cavanaugh, Reuben Brown, some big names. And somehow, Coach, you continue to put an amazing amount of players into the NFL each and every year. So that's an exciting night. But you'll be working Friday night, so you won't be able to be there, but I understand it's a sold-out event. So Allison Rubin and Heather Like and the team, congrats to them for a great job. Let's talk about North Carolina. You know Mac Brown. He's been the coach forever, twice now. Went and joined the stinking media and then came back to coach. That's how bad it is to work. That's how bad it is to work in the media. He said, "Forget this. I'm going back to coaching where you guys have it easy."
yeah, no doubt.
But they've won their first 3 games, so they beat South Carolina in their opener. But Appalachian State took 2 overtimes, and then they beat Minnesota last week, 31-13. And the focus for the Carolina Tar Heels is their quarterback, Drake May. What is it about him, as you saw last year firsthand, but as you scout him, that makes him such a successful quarterback at a young age?
Well, I think the first thing is when people think of a quarterback, the arm he has, he can sling it all over the field. He can make every single throw that an NFL quarterback's got to make. He throws a tight spiral, and he can move in the pocket. He's really athletic. Nobody wants someone back there that's just going to be a sitting duck that can't at least escape, and he will escape. He'll go out the right side, the left side, and he'll more escape outside than he does really up the middle. But he's got speed, and he's got it's like he's got 4 eyes. He can see where the pressure's coming, and he will elude you.
And that said, his numbers aren't really that impressive, to be honest with you. He's thrown 4 touchdowns, 2 picks, and as far as a dual threat running, he's only rushed for 34 yards. So,
right.
Do you look at him as strictly a guy that's going to challenge you in the air?
Yeah, he's not he's not like what we went into before we hurt Green last week. He's not a guy that's going to run a bunch of quarterback powers. He will pull it on the zone read occasionally, especially in the red zone. We've got to be aware of that. But he's a guy that's going to beat you with his arm and his feet in scrambles. But the scrambles more or less is going to be scramble to throw it and find an open receiver.
And in terms of looking at last year, they have a lot of guys up front on offense. I was looking at their offensive line. All of them have at least a season of starts and many more, except for their left tackle. He's only got 2 starts. Diego Pounds is his name, and he weighs 330, so he was aptly named.
Yes.
But they have a lot of consistency, and that's really important for protection and everything you're trying to do.
No question about it. They've got a good system, and they protect the quarterback pretty much. And again, like you said, they're an experienced offensive line that knows what they're doing.
And ACC play has changed this year because there's no longer the 2 divisions, right? So the Tar Heels were in the Coastal with Pitt. Obviously, you're very familiar with them. Explain how that works now for the ACC, because it's just one conference, no divisions.
Yeah, it's one division. The top 2 teams, record-wise, will go to the to the championship game in Charlotte. So every one of those games matters. My guess is that there's going to be there might be 2 teams. The 2 teams that win that championship game, they'll each have a loss. I think there's enough good teams that can win any Saturday that I think who's ever in that championship game will have at least 1 loss in the ACC. So it'll be interesting to see how this thing goes. But every one of these counts, and it doesn't matter. They're all in the same division, so every one counts, which it normally does, whether you had a crossover game or not. Those all counted anyway. So it's just they're going to shuffle up. You're going to play more teams that maybe you didn't play in the past. But North Carolina's a mainstay, and we're lucky to play them.
And I'm sure your team, how are the men? They want to get back on the horse and try to get a win in ACC game number 1 Saturday night. How was practice so far this week?
We've had a great week, and I think you get out of the non-conference games, and it's ACC play. And really, when you look backwards, what do those other games matter? You can still get to the championship game. We just got to pick it up and go. And these ACC games are the ones that count. We've been breaking down on ACC champs for a long time. This is the one that really counts, and so all of our focus goes into North Carolina.
And when we come back, we're going to meet one of the stars of your defense. Marquez Williams will be with us. Let's hear it for Marquez. Coach's special guest when we return. You're listening to the Pat Narduzzi Show, presented by Dollar Energy Fund on the Pitt Panthers Radio Network. This is the Pat Narduzzi Show, and Coach welcomes his special guest. He is a cornerback, 5th-year senior Marquez Williams, who knows a lot about Pittsburgh and the Steelers. We'll tell you why in a minute, but we were just talking before we got on the air that Marquez has been targeted 4 times. How many receptions in front of you?
0.
Yeah, that's what Coach likes
keep
to
that
hear,
going.
by the way.
Let's keep that going.
That's good. And you had a interception against Cincinnati.
Yes, sir.
Which was a key moment in that game. But your connection to Pittsburgh, your uncle is Tyrone Carter, who's been 11 seasons in the NFL, 6 with the Steelers. His uncle won 2 Super Bowls with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So
yes, sir.
Did he have any influence on you coming to the University of Pittsburgh from Pompano, Florida?
Yes, sir. He definitely did. Just going over it, talking with him, and just him being in my life and him being that big support system with me not having my dad in my earlier life. He definitely played a big role. I was up here a plethora of times just in the locker room with him, Bill Cowher, Casey Hampton, and all those type guys. So I was familiar with the city, loved the university around here when I came around here. So I was already adapted to Pittsburgh as well before I made my decision. So I knew where I was going.
Yeah, 2 Super Bowl rings is a
yes, sir.
pretty substantial achievement as a player in the NFL. You know a lot of players in the NFL.
Yes, sir.
I saw Quadri Olison got the call up, was suited Monday Night Football. That was pretty special. I saw him on the sidelines at home against Cincinnati a couple Saturdays ago, and he couldn't be more excited to be back in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, definitely a Pittsburgh guy. I talk to Quadri all the time. I talk to all the guys. I was here with him. I came here 2018, so I was on the team with a lot of those guys, and I still talk to him. And, he told me, I seen him outside of the facility when we had the report on Friday, and he told me he was suiting up, and, it was a bittersweet moment.
Welcome back to the Pat Narduzzi Show. We had a little technical glitch, but as in football, you got to roll with the punches, deal with the audibles. We're with Coach Narduzzi's special guest, Marquez Williams, cornerback in his 5th year, and we were talking about some of the guys on the Steelers roster that you played with. And obviously, we were talking about Quadri Olison, who got the call up Monday night to dress an exciting moment. And obviously, you get to watch Kenny Pickett. And, man, those rough and tough games in the NFL against division opponents, nice to see them come away with a crazy win, But credit the defense because they came up with some big plays. So, Marquez, I was surprised Coach didn't know you have the 5th-ranked defense in college football.
Yeah.
It might not feel that way, because you want to get W's with that, but your defense has been playing at a high level. And I know you're going to be facing a guy that's going to be looking maybe your way more than other quarterbacks. So what's the scouting report on Drake May for you?
He's a great player. They got a great team over there, great offensive coordinator. They're good at what they do as well. We know he's going to come out here and challenge us. We know that as a defense, we prepared. Coach Dudes, Coach Bates, and Coach Collins, Coach Sanders, Coach Parcher is definitely getting us, ready and prepared for North Carolina this week. I think we had a great preparation week, and we have Perfect Thursday tomorrow to finish it off. I think we'll definitely be prepared and definitely ready for the different looks they'll give us. Each and every week you got to come and they'll give you something you haven't seen on film as well. So, I think we're the best in the country at adapting as well in the game when we see, new looks on the offense as well. So, we prepared and we physically and mentally ready to go.
And we mentioned the defense only gave up 211 yards, which is 100 yards less than what West Virginia was able to do against Penn State. But at the same time, one of the signatures of a Pat Narduzzi defense is stop the run, but that also puts a lot of pressure on you D-backs out there to do your job because you're forced. You're on an island sometimes. What's that pressure like?
Honestly, that's what we like in Coach Narduzzi defense. We always put on islands. He challenges us each and every day in practice as well. We're going against great receivers in practice as well, in the ACC on our team as well. So, we definitely be on islands with those guys as well. And, we got the best defensive back coach, Coach Collins and Coach Sanders, and, Coach Bates as well as an defensive coordinator. So, they never putting us in difficult situations. They put us in situations to make plays. We just got to go out there and fall back on our fundamental and technique and what we learn inside the classroom and bring it onto the field, and, we should be good.
My favorite play of yours came last year. We were talking about Virginia. Boom, boom, 2 consecutive pick sixes to begin the game, and one of those was yours. You came flying by, knocked my hat off. But that was just pure fun to watch.
Definitely, that was a dream come true. I definitely never been a part of that, getting 2 interceptions in 16 seconds. It was definitely a dream come true. I was definitely happy, for our team to get the win as well. I definitely want to say, sorry for the tragedies that happened that next day as well when we left from down there. But definitely hats goes off to Coach Narduzzi, just keeping us ready, always being on us, coaching us hard, treating us, good and, treating us like sons and treating us like players on and off the field. As a football player, you got to do everything right off the field and on the field to allow it to come together as one. So, hats off to Coach Narduzzi for continuing that.
And it's easy, Marquez, when you win, you're the man, I'm the man, he's the man, everybody loves you. But when there's adversity, that's where you really stick with your brothers. So how have you and your teammates dealt with this adversity over the last couple of weeks?
We just come together as a team. We've been here before. This is not our first time, going through adversity. We go through a lot of adversity each and every day. The coaches, the players, everybody in the building. So, just handling how we're going to bounce back is the main thing, and just keeping the players together. Coach Dew is keeping us, talking to us as a whole team in the team meetings after practice, just making sure everybody getting more film in, just doing more. Anything we could do to get the W, it's a blessing. It's hard to get a W each and every week. Any given week, a team could come in and beat you. So, it's a blessing just to come out with a W. So we're doing anything we can to come away with the win, no matter how we get it.
There's a fine line between winning and losing. Half the teams win and half the teams lose any given Saturday or Sunday, obviously. So what do you do to motivate yourself to be the best you can be every week?
Just definitely watch more film. Text Coach Collins. I'm always, calling Coach Collins even after the game, a loss or win. I'm calling him, asking him what did he see. Just as a whole, on a whole defense. I don't just look at myself. I'm not a me person. We got that around the building. It's no me's around the building. It's BAM by any means. That's everybody, a collective as a whole. So, I look at it as a whole team, how we could get better as a team. I get with the guys. We get with each other in the locker room. And just figure out what we got to do to, continue to build each other, continue to strive and, climb the ladder. It takes, day by day to climb that ladder, and it ain't just going to happen overnight. So, we're going through the adversity right now. We definitely will get through it. We've been here before.
We're with fifth-year senior Marquez Williams, cornerback for your Pitt Panthers. Do you indulge in social media? I'm curious because I know the coaches don't. I'm just asking. Well, young guy. I mean, that's how you grew up. That's what's out there.
What are you on?
Yeah.
I'm on Instagram, m.williams14 _ I'm on Twitter. I don't do the TikToks yet. I'm on Facebook, for my aunts, my grandmas. And
what do you mean?
The old people. You're on Facebook.
Are you suggesting
I ain't wanna
Facebook's
say it
for
like that.
ancient people?
Yeah, like back home, that's what it's for, yeah.
Or like Bill Belichick said one time to the Patriots, they asked him about social. He goes, I don't know about that snap face.
Yeah.
But obviously fans in the course of the game, how do you separate yourself from not letting that stuff into your world, to affect you?
Like Coach Narduzzi say, like each and every day he talked to us about blocking out the outside noise, and that's what we do. We great at it. Like I said, I've been here 5 years. It's definitely not something new that Coach Narduzzi is just bringing alive. He's always been preaching that to block out the outside noise, and that's what we do as a team. To try to block out that outside noise and just continue to climb that ladder and take it day by day, because at the end of the day, social media always gonna judge you whether you win, you lose, you draw. They still gonna judge you. So we try to stay, to keep the outside noise away from us.
And that's a smart move. And really, so many things transfer from football and what you do as a team to civilian life for everybody else. You got to block out the negativity. You be the best you can be, not get sucked into the gossip at the office and all those things.
Yeah.
And you studied administration of justice. You have a degree in that, and now communication. So you're going for a dual degree.
Yes, sir.
What do you want to do after your playing days? And hopefully that'll be a long time from now.
Honestly, I want to give back to children. I have a 3-year-old daughter. I love giving back to people, just not even children, just people in general. Like, I'm a good person. Like, I see people around, I'm a very respectful child. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Things like that. And I think that take you a long way, just respecting your elders as well, and just making sure you're just doing everything right on and off the field. And I think that take you a long way.
I don't want to embarrass Coach Narduzzi, but I've told him this many times, and I know as a dad you never get tired of hearing good things about your kids. And in your case, the young men that this coaching staff recruits, like yourself, is at an extremely high level, and ultimately that's the most important thing. Wouldn't you guys agree with that? Let's hear it for Marquez Williams. So it ain't over, though.
No, sir.
You got some work to do.
Definitely.
So you excited to get back on the saddle again Saturday night against North Carolina?
Yes, sir. We're excited. I know the university is excited. The fans excited. The coaches excited. The players excited. We just, like we said, we just working to try to, bring a win to Acrisure Stadium any way possible we can. We've been working hard this week, taking it day by day, like you say, handling the adversity. I think we handled it very well. All the guys on the team is definitely bought in. You can see the attitudes on their face, attitude, toughness, effort, and stuff on their face, and you can see it when they go out on the field that, it's definitely time for change, and, we're going to get a win. We're going to get it rolling, and we're going to keep climbing that ladder.
It's ACC play, so it is literally a brand new start, and your goals for the ACC are still ahead of you. So
yes,
that's the positive side. I'm curious. I always wonder what the players do, because you all spend so much time involved in what you're doing on the field, plus your academics. What do you do to relax? How do you detach and just enjoy yourself and take a step back?
I was a game type of guy, but, with this being my last year, I wanted to focus more on football. So me personally, I'm still in contact with DeMar Hamlin, Dane Jackson, like those type guys like that. Like, I try to stay communicated with those guys as much as possible. Just watching film, I called them after practice, called them after games. They called me as well. So, I'm staying in touch with those guys, just trying to figure out a way for all my teammates to be better, not just myself. When I watch when those guys talk to me as well, I could critique everybody, critique myself. I could critique people as well, the defense as well, because I know the whole defense and deep lineman, linebacker, safety, corner. So, I'm just trying to be great at everything and, help my teammates out the best way I can.
You call your uncle too, right?
Yes, sir, I do.
Let's hear it for Marquez Williams, fifth-year senior cornerback.
Coach Williams, huh?
Coach, yeah.
Coach them all. Get a coach someday, probably.
I'm ready to play. I appreciate you. We're going to let you finish your burger and fries here at Hotel Indigo. You're a credit to this university, your family, and whatever you do, you're going to be successful. So thank you.
I thank you so much. Thank you for having me as well.
Marquez Williams. And when we come back, we'll get the scouting report from Pat Bostic, former Pitt quarterback, next. You're listening to the Pat Narduzzi Show, presented by Dollar Energy Fund on the Pitt Panthers Radio Network. And we are live at Hotel Indigo, which is right near the Hot Middle Bridge along the Mon which is actually between campus and the Southside facility that the Pitt Panthers share with the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you haven't been, this is a great facility, and you're welcome to visit with us. And every week we check in with former Pitt quarterback and senior associate athletic director of Major Gifts. He's smiling, so it must have been a big week for Pat Boston.
Big week,
yeah.
Big week.
It's been good. Good week. How you doing?
Pat, I know I saw you pace in the sidelines before the game. You were honorary captain, and I know that you put a lot mentally into this, like a lot of fans. You want to win. When you walk away, it stings as much maybe to you as anybody outside of the team itself. What was your takeaway from Saturday night?
Winning's hard. It's hard to win, and I thought made too many losing plays in the game. That's the reality of it. Turnovers and games like that. Coach Wanstead said it to me last week. Games like that. That's why he didn't let me throw back in 2007. The team that makes the fewest mistakes will win the game, and that's pretty much always true. With a few outliers here and there, so you can't turn it over. And emotion has a lot to do with it, and momentum, especially on the road. And you give them momentum, and they're going to play with that. So it's unfortunate, but a lot to clean up and a lot of room for improvement, certainly. And I think this is a good team that's just not playing good right now. And luckily, there's 9 more opportunities.
It is a fresh start, as we talked about with conference play. So let's talk about what you need to know about North Carolina's Tar Heels, brought to you by PNC Bank. Make today the day. What is the Pat Bostic scouting report?
It's not real complicated. The number 10 is pretty good, the quarterback. They're a little bit different than they've been, I think, on offense. A lot of the names we saw last year, there's a couple greens at receiver, but the green that hurt us last year at 180 is no longer with them. Graduated. Downs was a stud in the slot. They picked up McCollum from Georgia Tech, so that's trying to fill that role a little bit. They'll throw RPOs to him. They got a couple tight ends. I think they still want to run the ball and keep Drake clean. And what I've seen from him is if he doesn't like what he sees, he's moving. And he's going to get out of there and extend plays. And he could do it with his feet and his arm. He took a pretty big shot against Minnesota last week on the sideline. So I'm not sure he'll be doing that much more. But this year, obviously, he has had a lot of hype, and both from in college circles and in pro circles, and you can see it on tape. He's everything as advertised.
So when you went back and looked, because I know you do, how was Appalachian State able to take them to double overtime?
Well, they scored a bunch of points, which helped. I mean, it's interesting. Everyone kind of said that Carolina was back on defense after the first week. They had 9 sacks. They've had 1 sack since. So it's openers are hard. You're playing South Carolina in a neutral site. It's an emotional game. I think Gene Chiswick's got them playing better defense. But they've given up some yards. Even Minnesota's in the game. They turned the ball over twice in the red zone. One on the fringe of the red zone and once in the red zone. And it's a 21-13 game, late in the third quarter into the fourth quarter. So, this team's been in some battles. Appalachian State, scared them. And certainly App State was up for that game. But, I think, they find a way to get wins. And the first week was kind of, I think everyone's like, whoa, they're for real. But you find out more as time goes on.
And how much does conference play change the dynamic, if it does much for them?
I don't think it changes anything for anyone, really. It's more of a reset, I think. If you're playing well, you want to keep it going. If you're not, you want to reset it and start the clock back at 0 and start fresh. So I think that's where the Panthers are at right now, and knowing what the first 3 games brought, what they need to improve upon. And obviously when you watch the tape, you're going to have a team that's going to make it hard to improve upon those things. But it'll come back to what you do well and doing it at a high level.
And talking to Coach Narduzzi, we've looked at a lot of teams that have a lot of transfers. North Carolina's been able to keep most of their personnel, and most of their personnel on offense are back and have at least a full season. In some cases, Willie Lampkin, the left guards, had 38 career starts. That's like a professional level. That's hard to do in college football.
Yeah, he's a transfer too, though. He's a transfer. Those are not at North Carolina. That was Coastal Carolina. So he did transfer. So I think those were starts there.
It's a lot of starts. 38 starts and then transfers. And they got experience. That right side of the offensive line is really experienced. Left guards played a lot of football.
He's tough. He's a good football player now. He's only 6'1", but he's a tough dude.
Yeah, they've got some experience up front, and I'm sure Drake feels good about that.
And I would imagine in terms of last year, when you saw Drake May, you heard, oh, this kid's pretty good. And then when you saw what he's able to do on the football field, but then you see how well, it may not feel like it to fans, but the Pitt defense is playing at a high level.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're getting pressure. Obviously, the last two games have been a different tone and tenor that we're going to see on Saturday from the opposition perspective. I think Carolina's much more apt to sit back and throw it. But again, I think Minnesota got some pressure on Drake, flushed him out of the pocket, and didn't contain him well enough at times. So we'll see. I mean, it's I think this is certainly a tough test, but you'll find out a lot of where you are. You're not going to play. You got Sam Hartman, you got Jordan Travis. This is first in a line of many very good quarterbacks that not only can throw it, but can run. And both quarterbacks they've played the last 2 weeks could do it. They just didn't have the at-bats that I think you'll see from UNC in terms of throwing the ball.
Yeah, they seem to always be able to reload at quarterback. Mitch Trubisky, remember playing against him, Coach?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember Mitch, old Cleveland boy. Pittsburgh Steeler.
Yeah, and Drake May passed Mitch Trubisky for 6th all-time for touchdowns last week, even though Drake's only a sophomore. So we'll talk more about Pitt, North Carolina, when we come back. You're listening to the Pat Narduzzi Show, presented by Dollar Energy Fund on the Pitt Panthers radio networks. That said, Saturday night looks like the weather's going to cooperate. I'm sure the team is anxious to get back in the game.
Yeah, that's the best part of it when you got another game. So, practice has been, good energy, and as Coach said, I think that's always an indicator of where your mind's at. And, it is conference play. I think, if you're, for Phil, get out there and just do your job. I mean, there's nothing secret to this. I mean, it's just going out there and executing. You've all done it before. For whatever reason, I think in games, sometimes you press a little bit, and when you do that, bad things happen. And I think, Saturday night, it's not going to take some sort of miracle to beat North Carolina. It's going to take doing your job on every single play.
How do you get that through to each and every player on the field?
They do it every day. I mean, that's why they coach. I think it's when you try to not do your job, bad things happen. So sometimes you got to touch the burner like a kid. You got to touch the burner to know it's hot. And there's a lot of guys on this team that know how to play and have beaten teams like North Carolina and know what it takes. So you lean on your senior leaders, and I think Pitt's got plenty of them.
If you were talking to Phil Jurkovec, what kind of conversation would you have?
Just do your job, play the game. I mean, he's played a lot of football. He's played a lot of good football. It's in the Rolodex there. He's done it. And again, I think for whatever reason, you get into a big game like that, you're trying to make a play, and all of a sudden you start to reel a little bit. But just go out there, complete the ball, do your job, get us in the right play, and then stack series, stack drives. Go put points on the board, and before you know it, the last week, whatever else noise is out there is ancient history, and you're trying to go win a football game. And I think that's the only antidote here is to go out and play and do your job the right way.
And how about the core of running backs? Rodney Hammond, obviously, being the bell cow for the Panthers on the ground.
I mean, keep doing your thing. I mean, I thought they ran it well last week. Obviously, it's when you become a little bit one-dimensional, it's hard. A team's going to adjust at halftime, and you've got to be able to counter-adjust and make plays through the air. That's critical to do to soften them up. But I know Coach Sig will have a good plan and ready to deploy those guys. I think it was great to see them get off to the start they got to. You got to finish that drive with a touchdown, though. That's what sometimes could take the wind out of your sails, and all of a sudden you're backed up at your own 1-yard line, and you're in a little bit of a different mode. So I expect those guys to play at a high level.
It's amazing the ebb and flow of a college football game. And, Coach, you talked about, I know you were asked about, well, you ran the ball. Well, the previous week they're saying, well, you threw the ball. So you run the ball, but as long as you're successful and getting yardage and making first downs, why wouldn't you keep doing what you're doing?
No doubt, Larry. I mean, that's the plan was not to go run the ball 13 straight times or whatever it was. But when it's working, you just stick with what's working. I mean, if you felt like you had them on their heels, and you want to keep pounding at them, which is slowed down when we got down to that 3-yard line. So you still got to mix a couple passes in there, which would have helped us, period.
Hey, I mean, it's complimentary ball, but at the end, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
That's right.
Hand it off. And I think Phil's shown enough with his feet, too, that there's plays off of plays. So, again, it just hasn't, it's got to gel, and it hasn't gelled yet. And I think, that's bound to happen, and it's not going to take some sort of miracle. When it clicks, it'll click.
And it better happen pretty quick.
No question. Well, not quick enough. And the game's not for 3 days, so we got time.
Okay, we got time.
So when you're talking to fans, Pat, just the fan that wants to see this team succeed, wants to be successful, and has gotten a good taste of that, certainly in the last few years, what do you tell them about not losing faith in this team?
Show up Saturday. I mean, what have you not proved over the last, 8 seasons, right? We've been in this position before. Teams have been in this position before and gone on to have great years. I mean, what was it, EJ? The 01 team was 1-5 at Pitt. I was a part of teams that lost to Bowling Green and had a bad start and rallied to win. A team in 12 was lost to consecutive games to Youngstown State and Cincinnati and beat a ranked Virginia Tech team at home. You beat Virginia Tech a couple years ago with 9 guys out of the game during COVID. So it just comes down to keep doing your job, and fans, your job's to be there and support this team and support them in the stands, support them throughout the week. And you got to do it together. You do it one at a time or divided, it'll never get right. So it's not a real scientific answer to the question, but the reality is you just got to keep chopping and keep playing.
And as Coach, you said this week, keep sticking to the game plan, and it's going to gel.
No doubt about it. I think the last thing anybody wants to see or do is to change the game plan. When you start to change, that's when you're done. Your kids see that you've lost faith in what our plan is. We know what the plan, like Pat said, we've been in this position. It doesn't matter whether it's losing to Western Michigan or having different games that happen. I would much rather lose the non-conference and make a run in the ACC. And every year is different. Every team is different. And I think we're just going to win a championship a different way this year. And we got to adjust and go.
I mean, people forget. Put yourself back in September of 2021. How many people thought the rest of that season would go the way it did? Not many outside of that building. So let that be proof. And again, it starts on Saturday.
I'd play for Pat Bostic, too, anytime. Let's hear it. Pat Bostic, we'll see you part 2 hours prior to kickoff with our pregame show starting at 6 o'clock. And when we come back, some final thoughts with head coach Pat Narduzzi, presented by Dollar Energy Fund on the Pitt Panthers Radio Network. Well, Coach, this is it. ACC Conference play Saturday night against the North Carolina Tar Heels. How do you feel going into this one?
I feel good. I think it's a great matchup. It's ACC play, changes everything, and we've talked a lot about Drake May. They got a good defense as well. Gene Chizik does a great job. Their front four is something we got to handle up front, so it's going to come down to that offensive line.
Good luck against the Tar Heels.
Thanks, Larry. Appreciate it.
And you've been listening to the Pat Narduzzi Show. Want to thank PJ Kamachick, our executive producer, Andrew Monday, who's producing here at Hotel Indigo. You've been listening to the Pat Narduzzi Show, presented by Dollar Energy Fund on the Pitt Panthers Radio Network.